Is it the absence of belief or the belief in absence? Unbelievers are often held at Bible point, accused of actively asserting the non-existence of gods rather than simply lacking belief. Mystriks hold that this distinction ultimately doesn't matter. While many skeptics view non-theism and atheism as having no obligation to prove anything, Mystriks argue that we have a scientific responsibility to highlight the absence of evidence as a meaningful form of evidence in its own right. Believers themselves have desperately searched for proof of gods and the supernatural for millennia, yet not a single subatomic particle of verified or falsifiable evidence has ever been produced. This consistent lack of supporting proof grounds the non-theistic position as the most rational yet qualified conclusion at this time. The historical case of the luminiferous ether is an ideal example, from an abundance of choice, of how a lack of substantiation leads to rejecting claims. In the 19th century, the ether was hypothesized as the medium through which light traveled, akin to sound waves traveling through air. The Michelson-Morley experiment, 1887, sought to detect the Earth's movement through the ether but found no measurable evidence of its existence. Despite initial opposition by its proponents, the consistent failure to detect the ether ultimately led to its rejection, further reinforced by Einstein's theory of relativity, which showed that light requires no medium to propagate. This example highlights a key principle. Claims without evidence, particularly when evidence should be detectable, fail to meet the burden of proof. This isn't about asserting the non-existence of the ether, but acknowledging that the claim lacked support. The same applies to theistic claims, which remain unproven despite aeons of scrutiny. How non-theism or atheism is framed is fundamentally irrelevant. It's a purely semantic and futile debate, which should be left at the steps of the orphanage for fruitless debates, along with the free will controversy. Without evidence, non-belief is the only rational stance. Like the ether, the absence of evidence for gods is provisionally treated as evidence of absence until proven otherwise. Belief, defined as acceptance that something exists or is true, relies on being in alignment with facts, ideas that can be demonstrably proven through observation and/or argument. When a proposition lacks empirical or logical corroboration after an exhaustive, protracted, and highly motivated investigation, it is safe to, at the very least, conditionally regard it as unproven and unjustified. In Mystrikism, this conclusion and all other intellectual positions remain open to new evidence, embodying scientific honesty and being oriented with the methods of science.